Yachts for Sale blog YouTube channel opening a window into the world of yacht brokerage, and in this vlog I want to talk about yacht transformations. It's a subject I find absolutely fascinating because some yachts have had extraordinary second lives. Some began as commercial vessels, one began as a naval frigate, others were already important super yachts but were rebuilt so extensively that they almost became different vessels altogether. And the question I want to look at is very simple. Why would anybody do that? Why take on an existing hull, existing systems, old machinery, classification issues, structural limitations, and then spend years transforming it? At first glance, it seems a lot easier to just build a new yacht. But yachting is not always that straightforward. Sometimes what they refer to as the donor vessel already has something special, either because it was built for extreme conditions or for military use, or maybe even just a really great hull design. So in this vlog, I want to look at 4 amazing yacht transformations: Ragnar, H3, Yachts, and the Attessa IV. Now they're 4 very different yachts, 4 very different stories, and 4 very different reasons why transformation made sense. So let's start with Ragnar, a yacht that I had the privilege of filming during and after her conversion. Ragnar began life as Sanneborg, an icebreaking, multi-purpose support vessel built in the Netherlands in 2012. Her ice-breaking hull was built for offshore oil and gas logistics in the Caspian Sea. So before she was ever a yacht, she was already a very serious commercial vessel designed to work in difficult conditions. Now, when Icon Yachts converted her into Ragnar, they worked with the design studio RWD to convert her into a very rugged-looking explorer yacht, which was actually true to her original character. So the conversion added the luxury, the guest areas, the exploration equipment, the helideck, the toys and the super yacht experience, but the original commercial DNA is still visible. The yacht world does sometimes borrow styling from commercial vessels. We see explorer styling, military styling, tugboat styling, expedition styling, but Ragnar had the substance before she had the style, and that's a very strong starting point for any transformation. The next yacht is H3, which is another yacht that I had the pleasure of filming just after she launched. H3 is a very different case because she was already a major super yacht. She began life as Al Miqab, later became Indian Empress, and she was originally a 95-metre Oceanco. So this was already a large yacht from a very serious Dutch builder. But what Oceanco did with H3 went far beyond what most people think of as a normal refit. The hull was lengthened to around 105 metres. The exterior profile was completely changed. The superstructure was rebuilt. The interior was redesigned. The technical systems were upgraded. The machinery was changed. The range improved. The entire feel of the yacht changed. And the final result was so different that Oceanco quite rightly referred to it as a rebuild rather than a refit. And the technical side of H3 is especially interesting. Before the rebuild, the yacht had 3 very powerful MTU engines. She was fast for a yacht of that size, capable of around 26 knots, which is extraordinary for a 95-metre yacht. But speed at that level comes at a cost. So during the rebuild, Oceanco replaced the 3 original engines with 2 lower-powered MTU engines. So H3 became slower with a top speed of around 18 knots. But she also became far more efficient. Her range increased, fuel consumption improved, and she was brought up to modern IMO Tier 3 standards. And that's a very important part of the H3 story, because the rebuild changed more than just the way that she looked. It changed the way that she operated. She went from being a very fast, very powerful yacht to being a more efficient, longer range yacht that better reflects the way that many owners actually use large yachts today. There's also the wider sustainability point, by the way. Reusing part of an existing yacht can reduce the need for new steel, new aluminium. But with H3, I think the more interesting story is the operational one. The yacht was brought into a new era, not just visually, but mechanically, technically, and practically. I have to say that I think that H3 is one of the best modern examples of how an older super yacht, if it has the right foundation, can be given a real future. Then we come to Yachts, but before we do that, this vlog is sponsored by Keen Specialty Insurance. And I couldn't help wondering how the insurance costs of these conversions of older yachts are influenced. I'd imagine that with newer machinery and more modern safety systems, that should favourably impact the premium. But then on the other hand, the value of the asset is so much higher after the conversion's been done. Well, if you saw the podcast interview that we filmed with Tony Clark, the COO of Keen, you'll know that these very large super yachts are not at the core of their business. They deal with vessels of a value of up to $7.5 million, but they certainly don't shy away from a challenge. If you have a smaller vessel that's had a lot of modifications made to it, or if you bought a fishing boat to convert for private use, they're called specialty because they specialise in finding the right insurance for each individual vessel. They like to say that if it floats, they can insure it. It's so easy to get a quote from them too. Just scan the QR code on screen now or click the link in the description. Well, Yachts is probably the most visually dramatic of the four yachts in this vlog. She began life as a Dutch naval frigate, HNLMS Piet Hein. She served with the Royal Netherlands Navy, later served in the United Arab Emirates, and then became the foundation for one of the most recognisable yacht conversions in the world. Whatever you think of the design, you have to admire the ambition. Most people would look at a naval frigate and see a naval frigate, but somebody involved in that project looked at the same vessel and saw the possibility of a 141 metre super yacht. That's quite a leap. Now, the conversion was carried out in Abu Dhabi by ADM Shipyards, with design by Pierre Jean Vision Design Studio, and the end result is one of the most unusual large yachts I have ever seen. The hull is long and narrow because of her naval origins. The superstructure is completely unlike a traditional yacht. There are these flowing curves, enormous areas of glass, and a futuristic look that makes her instantly recognizable. There's no mistaking her for anything else, and that's why she belongs in a vlog about transformations. Yachts shows what can happen when imagination is pushed to a very large scale. And actually the conversion must have been incredibly complicated. The structure, the spaces, access, the weight, the engineering, the guest flow, the exterior layout of the yacht, everything had to be rethought. Not everybody appreciates the design, but then not every yacht has to be universally liked. And in an industry where many large white yachts can look quite similar to people outside the industry, Yachts is instantly recognizable, and that makes her significant. So now let's move on to Attessa IV. Now, Attessa IV began life as Evergreen, which was built in Japan in 1999 for Chang Yong-fa, the founder of the Evergreen Group. She was later bought by Dennis Washington and taken to Canada for a huge rebuild. Now, Dennis Washington is worth mentioning briefly because he's not just an owner who bought a yacht and decided to freshen it up. He's a self-made American industrialist. He's the founder of the Washington companies with interests in construction, mining, rail, marine transportation, shipbuilding, heavy equipment, environmental work, and aviation. So when he looks at a yacht, I imagine that he looks at it with a very practical eye as well as an owner's eye, and he has form with this kind of project. Before Attessa IV, he was involved in the rebuild of Attessa III, originally the Fed ship Lady Aviva. Now that yacht had suffered a fire in the Red Sea, and Washington bought her and rebuilt her over a period of around 3 years. She was extended and transformed into the 68-metre Attessa III. So by the time Evergreen came along, Washington already had experience with taking a substantial yacht and rebuilding it to his own vision. But with Attessa IV, the scale was so much bigger. The yacht was lengthened, the bow and the stern was changed, the superstructure was reshaped, the interior completely reworked, a 4-deck tender garage was added, there was a new spa, a new helipad, major machinery and systems work, and a completely different layout for the guests and the crew. Now the rebuild took place in Vancouver, Canada, and became one of the most significant yacht rebuilds of its time. I can only begin to imagine the challenges they must have faced along the way, and that seems to be part of what interested Dennis Washington. He saw potential in Evergreen. He liked the size and he liked the structure, but he wanted a yacht that felt more personal, more refined, and better suited to the way that he wanted to use her. So Attessa IV gives us another angle on yacht transformations. Ragnar began with capability. H3 began with build quality and the opportunity to modernize the yacht properly. Yachts began with a military hull and a huge amount of imagination. Attessa IV seems to have begun with an owner who had the patience, the resources, and the appetite to take on a very complicated rebuild and push it through to the end. And this brings us back to the question, why transform an existing vessel instead of building new? And honestly, there doesn't seem to be a single answer. I guess sometimes the existing vessel had a capability that would be difficult to reproduce. On other occasions, the original yacht had enough quality to justify the investment. Then sometimes the project is just driven by design ambition, sometimes by an owner who actually really enjoys the challenge. And sometimes it can just be a combination of all of those things. But one thing I would be careful about is the idea that a transformation is automatically the cheaper or easier route. At this level, that can be a big and dangerous assumption. A serious rebuild can become every bit as complicated as a new build. In some respects, even more complicated. With a new build, you start from zero. The structure, the machinery, the systems, the layout are designed around the owner's brief right from the beginning. But with a transformation, you take on an existing yacht, and quite frankly, you don't always know what you're going to get into. It's not just costly financially, but it can also take longer than planned to finish. You really need to be committed to the project. So I'm interested to know what you would choose. Would you choose a new build that gives you better control, or a yacht conversion project where you take on the history and the character of an existing vessel? Well, this coming Saturday, we have a video about a yacht that's far from a conversion. It's actually a walkthrough video of a Sunseeker 76 called Top Level that we filmed in Croatia. I was blown away by the great condition of this yacht, to be quite honest. So we're going to publish that on Saturday, and then the following day we'll be publishing a podcast on the Yacht Podcasts channel to talk about what went on behind the scenes and the challenges of filming this kind of yacht. Those podcasts are a lot of fun to film, and the feedback that we're getting is that they're a lot of fun to listen to too. So I've put a link to both the podcast channel and of course the audio only podcasts in the description below. So do remember to subscribe to those channels.